Hey guys, what's going on? It is Livid. Hope you guys are all doing very well today. Today I wanted to start a new video series, and it's basically just going to be mistakes that I noticed people making in the Division 1, whether it be from, online forums, people asking questions, within the Discords. I've also gathered some recommendations from other veteran players of things that they noticed during random matchmaking, and I've added some things that I've noticed as well. So if you guys are newer or returning players, this is hopefully going to help you guys understand what some mistakes are that you might be making and how to avoid them in the future. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment to thank my channel members. It is thanks to you guys that I'm able to continue making content just like this. You guys are a really great support system, and I greatly appreciate every single one of you. So for this video specifically, we're going to be talking about the gear score in the game and how it's oftentimes mistaken for a bad skill level. A lot of players have the wrong idea about gear scores in the game and assume that if they don't have a maxed out gear score, like a 290 something gear score, they won't perform well in the content that they're playing. While it is important to reach at least a gear score 256 so you can get into World Tier 5, many players assume that you need to be around 290 gear score to have an effective build. This is a very common misconception, and it doesn't actually summarize how well a player's build can actually perform. This can even cause some players to be removed from random matchmaking without even having an opportunity to play if they don't have a gear score that's close to maximum numbers. So let's go over a few common misconceptions that a lot of players have when it comes to lower gear scores. One of the biggest sources where gear scores are influenced are through weapons. If the gear score on the weapon that you're using is higher or lower, it's going to influence your overall gear score. So a big reason why someone might have a lower gear score is because they're using lower gear score or leveled weapons to achieve some better weapon talent requirements. Almost everyone knows that the stat requirements for a lot of the weapons in the game are pretty tedious to reach. The best examples of those are cool-headed, ferocious, determined, and even predatory. It's harder when the build in question has a very specific utilization. So to get around this, most players will buy, craft, or find lower gear score weapons, which will in turn lower the stat requirements for the talent they need in order for their build to perform better. If you aren't sure what I mean by this, let me just show you a really good example of how using a lower gear scored weapon will help you achieve a better performing build. In this example, I'll be showing the difference in damage output with the turret with two different weapons. One weapon being a gear score 228 LVOAC with destructive, ferocious, and determined on the bottom slot. The other weapon is a gear score 286 lightweight M4 with talented, confident, and determined to get on the bottom slot. If we are talking strictly about skill damage output, the lower gear score LVOAC is going to outperform the higher gear score lightweight M4 because there are more damage output talents rolled onto the weapon that transfer to our skills. Now, not all weapon talents offer these kind of bonuses, but destructive and ferocious are some of the few talents that do, and they happen to offer the highest damage increases. Paired with the in-class bonus of enemy armor damage from assault rifles, this makes lower leveled weapons like assault rifles a no-brainer to use for skill builds. Alongside ARs for Tactician, a really popular piece of equipment that people will use are lower leveled sidearms. Cool-headed is a pistol and marksman rifle talent that will lower skill cooldowns by 5% on any headshots that are landed every 3 seconds, and it does require a bit of electronics and firearms to use. When using a lower leveled pistol instead of a 256 plus gear score pistol, the talent stat requirement lowers and the benefit of that 5% cooldown reduction stays the same. Since we're not really going much for damage output on our sidearms anyway, it's often even better to get yourself a lower leveled sidearm so you're not doing as much damage. Therefore, the yield that you'll get from that 5% cooldown bonus will be much better. The same method works for sustainability talents like Predatory and Sustained, most commonly used on sawed-off shotguns. Since the sawed-off has 3 talent slots instead of 2 like a pistol, you could craft a lower gear scored sawed-off with Sustained, Predatory, and Determined, and benefit from all 3 talents on successful kills on low HP enemies. Before we move away from the topic of weapons, I just want to quickly clarify that the in-class bonus also counts towards the overall gear score of your character. So if your in-class bonus alongside the actual damage of the weapon is a bit lower, it is going to impact the gear score. So in this example, I'll just showcase me optimizing this lightweight M4 that I have that's around gear score 170. You'll see that the score will increase as we optimize the weapon because not only is the damage increasing, but the in-class weapon damage bonus is also increasing up to 24%. And when it comes to the in-class bonus percentages itself, this is really only affected by the item rarity and not so much by the item level. So I have a couple weapons here just as an example. I have a lightweight M4 that is level 26. You'll see that this goes up to 14% enemy armor damage. If we go up by 3 levels, you'll see that it does stay the same. So the level isn't impacting the amount of enemy armor damage we receive. But if we stay at the same level and we go up in rarity to this purple G36, you'll see that we go up to 19% instead of 14, so we've gone up by 5%. And I do have a same level here, we've just gone up to a high-end rarity, you'll see that it goes to 24. So it doesn't really matter what the actual level of the item is, it only matters what the rarity is itself. There are also other factors that can lower the gear score, such as an armor roll. Armor itself will not determine how well a player actually handles themselves in combat. Smaller things can also impact gear score than armor, such as lower minimal attribute rolls like increased kill XP or ammo capacity. And these should also not be a deciding factor on how well their build may actually perform. Now, I'd like to make it known that I'm not saying that the gear score doesn't provide valuable information on a player's build, because it does provide info on how high or low the stats actually are on the gear, but it shouldn't be the sole reason for determining whether or not the build is actually good or bad. Considering players will lower their gear score on purpose for a lot of builds, it really shouldn't be the deciding factor on whether or not to remove someone from the group. I generally don't recommend booting anybody from the group. I would like to give everybody a chance to see what they bring to the table. If it's clear that this person is wearing all high-end gear and a legendary or incursion alongside skills maybe that aren't recommended for that form of content, then at that point I don't think their build would be very suitable for the content that you guys are playing, and then they could possibly be removed. I'm hoping that this video gave you guys some insight on how gear score actually works in the game, and how it really should not be a deciding factor when determining whether or not to remove someone from our random matchmaking groups. It's honestly really poor practice to just remove someone without even seeing how they play first, regardless of whatever actual gear set that they have on. Additionally, I will be remaking my tips and tricks for legendaries and incursions, so keep an eye out for that, because the one that I have out now is pretty good, but the background music is really loud, so I want to get it redone, and I'd like to add some more tips to that. If you guys are experienced or veteran players, make sure you guys comment some additional tips down below for people to use, as well as commenting any kind of questions that you guys have when it comes to gear scores, or really any kind of tips that you guys need for legendaries and incursion random matchmaking. Don't forget, if you guys are trying to matchmake for different legendaries or incursions, to join our community Discord. We have active members across all platforms, and we're really close to 1,800 members, so I would greatly appreciate, even if you guys don't have Discord, to consider getting Discord and joining our server. Myself, along with the admins and moderators, as well as veteran players in the community, spent a lot of time putting together our resources section. So if you guys really need help trying to figure out something about the game, odds are we have it covered in our resources section. So make sure you guys join up and ask questions if you guys have any. That's going to be everything from me for now. I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.